Okay, cool. So my name is Nathan Watts. I'm a cellist living in Frankfurt, and I'm here with Jalalu-Kalvert Nelson, an American composer, improviser, and performer living in Biel, Switzerland. And Jalalu and I go back a couple of years. I've played his string quartet with my string quartet Mad Blaster. I guess it's almost 2 years ago, or over 2 years ago now, that we played together. And yeah, it's been a great experience getting to know Jalalu. And now I'm working with Will Overcash, my colleague, on his violin and cello preludes. So you wrote 6 preludes in the last year or so, or was it over a year? I don't remember exactly.
Fall of 20 and winter of 21.
Okay.
So it's very hard yet.
Yeah. It was very, I remember getting the scores very quickly. I was like, whoa, a lot of music at once. Yeah, but it's been fascinating to get to know them because each one is so different and they really take different shape. I feel like the first one, it really goes through so many different areas, and it's like a try. Like each thing begins and then stops and then begins and stops, and you just keep attempting to go forward and go forward. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the first prelude.
Well, one thing came to my mind as we were talking is this story from Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus, where he continuously rolls this stone up the hill, then it falls back down. And then he rolls up again, and then it falls back down, whole story of his existence, and that the life is nothing but a struggle. And trying again and never really giving up. The struggle is the life, kind of,
Yeah.
In that struggle, there's Hoffnung, there's hope. That's why you get up and you do it again, because you think, well, maybe this time I'm gonna make it. This time it's gone to work out. And that's kind of like the idea, behind the piece. And so in the end, it really never has an ending. The struggle continues. It doesn't really. There's no resolution. It's like a journey, and it's still going on, this struggle, And so that's the kind of the idea, I had behind this first prelude, And of course, composers say when they write preludes, they're always inspired by the greatest preludes ever written, Bach, you know what I mean? And somehow in the fall of 20, I had an idea for all of these suites, one after the other, because my muse kept telling me, you got to do this. My muse said, I didn't know, I was following the muse. That's how it works with me. And it's like somehow in the composition, it's like for me, a spirit takes over you, and you have to go with that spirit. And when the work is finished, no matter if it's one piece for one performer or 20 or 30, you sit back and you realize, how did I do that? Wow. How did I do that? And it's a spiritual thing. You gave in to the, lack of a better word, the spirit, and it directed you, and it told you what you must do, and you kind of submit to that, And this is kind of what happened with these cello preludes, Each one was a different story from 1 to 6,
Yeah.
And of course, I had you and Jakob in mind when I wrote it, because I like writing specific for certain people, And they kind of was an expression of also my solitude during this time of confinement, and less social contact with people,
Yeah.
So
I think even the 5th prelude is called Saraband of Confinement.
Confinement, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like a prayer, a very calm prayer with a person, knowing that no one will really hear you pray. It was something very, very private, And that's the kind of idea behind the 5th one. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that really strikes me about it is like, or all of these pieces, even the string quartet that we played, things just kind of evolve from each other, and it's like thoughts and then another thought, and they just kind of keep appearing and then disappearing. And it is consciousness and the way that we think, it's you're never really in a straight line going all the way through, and it is wandering and finding and searching, and then something maybe comes back and then it disappears again. And yeah.
And it's kind of like a set of ideas are happening at the same time, but you focus on one and then you focus on the other. But they're all happening, but they're not visualized or oralized, And that's why it seems like, where did this come from? Where did this come from? But well, I've always been thinking about that. I just decided now to develop it or verbalize it. These different streams of consciousness going parallel to each other, simultaneous, because some, as you say, some ideas do come back, some disappear and they come, it's back again, It's like a person thinking with themselves.
And so you also written two pieces for Will, violin colleague, was called Variations or Variants. That's right, Variants, and Prelude #1 for violin.
The Prelude is a very simple piece because I wrote it as an introduction to modern music for a young violinist I know,
Okay.
And because she has teachers who only teaches her music by dead white composers, Definitely dead.
Yeah, definitely dead.
More dead than white. So I thought, you need, I knew you before you was born, you need to do some 21st century music too, with some live guys,
Yeah.
And I wrote this like in one night, and of course they're taught to be afraid of modern music, And I said to her, well, when you're ready, it's there, when you're ready, it's there, And then the variants, it's a piece, let's say it's kind of also a personal piece. Let's say it's philosophical, it's a piece, you could have an idea, it's a young person, And they're trying all different things in their life, and it gets very, very complicated. They go here, they go there, they try this, they think this. And as the piece goes, the person matures, and then the piece becomes much more simple, much more, not the word simple, but much more refined, much more relaxed, not so complicated. It becomes, with age comes certain resolutions and, and conclusions. And that's why I call it variants instead of variations, because the life has all these different variants as you go on in the life. You go here, you go here, And so that's the kind of the philosophy behind the piece. And it has some parts in the piece, it has cells from A to H, like just motives of 5 or 6 notes. And they're sometimes repeated, it goes from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and then A, I, G, F, like this, and then A2 and A2. It's like variations on these small motives in terms of experience, expressing different experiences a person has, how things evolve,
Yeah, cool.
So that's kind of the idea behind the variants piece.
Very cool.
And with me, just to sum up, in my process of composition, for me, it's like wine, Sometimes I begin a piece and I finish it 10, 20 years later, Like the second string quartet you did called
Speaking,
something like that, where you spoke, I began that piece in 1992, the first pages.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then when I met you guys, I finished it in 2019. It just, I have the pieces say, put me in the cupboard for a while. I need to rest. It's like being a wine guy. You need to let the wine sleep.
Yeah.
Time to cork it, and that's kind of how I feel, Like I've been working on an opera I began 50 years ago.
Nice.
21, and I just finished it in 2019,
Amazing.
So
well aged.
I'm still finding, how did I do that? Oh, what, am I crazy? You gotta be stupid. Come on. And I'm still like, when is it gonna be finished? Never. It's this process. It's wonderful. It's a great thing, this sensation of with yourself and your work. So sometimes making it is more exciting than hearing it sometimes, the process of composing,
Yeah.
you know? So I am
Yeah,
saying.
I totally
Okay.
feel that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was, I'm looking forward to the recordings.